Hey everybody, I'm Wave Storm Tracking Team Meteorologist Ryan Hoke here. We're live on Wave Weather Now, both our 24/7 live streaming channel available on wave3.com, the Wave Now app for streaming TV devices, and of course on the Wave Weather app, but also on Facebook, on Twitter, and on the Wave News YouTube channel. Welcome to everybody who's in here this evening. Got about 174 folks watching online here. Got a lot of folks in here saying no more ice. Hello, Nancy Spencer, reading her comment here from Facebook. Yeah, we've got one more round of some very light wintry mix tonight. Some light icing is possible. It doesn't take much in a situation like we're about to experience tonight to slick up the roads a little bit. We already saw that last night in parts of southern Indiana towards Seymour and Columbus. We don't want a repeat of that tonight, closer to home here in Wave Country here. Austin Bryant from Upton, hello to you. Nisha is here. Hello to you as well. Donna, we've got you from Taylorsville, Kentucky in here. Amanda from E-Towns online. And we got Donna who says, just bring it on. Bring on the snow. Unfortunately, it's not snow, Tommy. Need more snow. We don't have snow in the forecast tonight. That's appreciable. Maybe a few snowflakes as the colder air filters in on sort of the back end of this thing. But here we go, folks. This is not going to be a winter storm. This is not going to be an ice storm. Much like last night, this is one of those situations where just a tiny bit of precipitation can cause some big impacts to folks who have to travel to work and school in the morning. Let's get right to it, shall we here? See the live look out there in Louisville from our SkyTrack camera. All's quiet here in the city right now, but overnight tonight into early Wednesday, that's our wave weather alert day. We've got that light wintry mix now moving into parts of Wave Country right now. We'll see that on the radar here shortly. Temperatures will be plunging into the teens and 20s tonight. Not good for road salt effectiveness. Once you get below the mid-20s or so, you start to lose the effectiveness of that regular road rock salt. They may have to start whipping out things like sodium chloride calcium chloride tonight to try to get the roads to be in better shape in the morning. We'll see how that goes. And yes, the slick spots are a potential into early Wednesday that we're watching very closely here. Check it out. The winter weather advisory for a lot of counties south of I-64. There was some discussion earlier today as to whether or not this would get extended north to cover possibly Bullitt, Spencer, into Meade and Breckenridge, and potentially even as far north as Louisville. The National Weather Service in Louisville has elected not to do that at this time. They think the precipitation amounts will be light enough to preclude any sort of winter weather advisory, but they put out a special weather statement saying, hey, heads up, there may be some slick spots overnight, even here in the metro, and that is the potential that we're tracking with the alert day here. So here it is, proof's in the pudding. This stuff's on the radar. It's very light, relatively unimpressive looking, but you don't need much of this. Light freezing drizzle, a little bit of sleet can slick up the roads when temperatures are well below freezing. In fact, right now here in Louisville, we're at 28 degrees. So the roads have been sitting in an atmosphere all day that's below freezing. We really didn't have any sun. Clouds were out, so the ground temperatures, they're pretty well primed for anything that tries to fall from the sky to stick to the ground this evening if it is not treated. Taking a little radar tour here after we show you the temperatures, you'll notice that Hardinsburg and Litchfield are at 27 right now as this light freezing rain and sleet is moving in. Paoli, 23. Look what's going on just behind this initial wave here. Owensboro is at 23. Evansville's at 24. So there's like a 3 to 4 degree drop that's happening after this initial wave of precipitation moves in. That's a problem. We don't want that colder air to move in and decrease the effectiveness of the road salt and to make it easier for the roads to slick up somewhat here. As we zoom in, you'll note that it looks like snow on the radar. At least the color scale would show you snow from Hardinsburg to Litchfield, kind of that white with blue. But the problem, much like last night, is that the radar is not going to be able to detect exactly where the precipitation types are, because that's kind of powered by two things. One, math, and second, an estimate, a radar estimate, if you will, based on computer-generated data. So it's not going to be perfect. The reports coming out of this, and I can see those right here on my phone from MPing, which is a program run by the University of Oklahoma to get folks to report what kind of precipitation they're seeing. You can see those right here. They're saying, like, even in southern Nelson County, freezing drizzle right now. Out toward like Ohio County, Kentucky, freezing rain. Bowling Green has a mix of freezing rain and sleet at this time. Speaking of Bowling Green, let's zoom out. You'll see the radar kind of paints Bowling Green in that purple there, which would mean sleet when it knows what it's talking about. In this case, not so great, right? And then the pink would typically mean freezing rain. Again, typically, just paint all of this in your mind with freezing rain and sleet, if you will. Again, once you go back north, it's a little bit lighter. Here in Louisville, we don't have a whole lot to show for this just yet. Palmyra to Borden, little streak of some light freezing drizzle up that way. Hardinsburg, you guys are getting hit. I would not play with US 60 right now in Hardinsburg. Take it easy, take it slow out there, just in case those roads are starting to ice up. Same story in Litchfield along the Western Kentucky Parkway and areas closer to that US 62 corridor. So we go to the south, we find Greensburg and Columbia. You folks likely seeing some sleet and freezing rain also moving in at this time. That purple and pink on the radar there. Again, just a color at this point. All of this is kind of a mix of everything. This is why we call it a wintry mix, because it is literally a mix of precipitation types. I know that's kind of a funny word to ascribe to it, but that's what it is, all right? That's the easiest way for us to explain it and for folks at home to understand it here. So as we zoom out a little bit more, let's show you what's going on just down to the south of us. A true ice storm unfolding in West Tennessee right now. They've got ice storm warnings from Little Rock out toward areas near Tennessee at this point. That is going to be a higher impact than what we will see. Again, this is not an ice storm. This is not a winter storm, but this is a winter weather event with some icing that could cause a problem, despite how light this icing is going to be this evening here. Lauren's asking, how will this impact southern Indiana? The closer you are to the river in southern Indiana, the more likely it is you'll see some very, very light freezing drizzle and freezing rain and the potential for a slick spot or two. This is not going to be a southern Indiana centric event. This is more a southern Kentucky centric event, though. Starting to see freezing rain out there in Pierce, Greene County, Pierce, Kentucky, from Chris Jones down there. Thanks for the report there. Let's see if we've got any more comments or questions before we go any further. Nancy also asking, will it be slick in Jeffersonville in the morning? And I'm not going to take any more like location-based questions here, but in Jeffersonville and areas along the I-64 corridor, we may have some slick spots in the morning. May not be like this morning, but it does not take much. As we saw last night up towards, say, Jackson and Bartholomew counties in Indiana, just a little bit of freezing drizzle, temperatures in the lower 20s, kapow, you had major, major traffic crashes on I-65 up there. So we don't want a repeat of that here. We want to make sure everybody's kind of armed with the information before you head out tonight and into early tomorrow morning if you're going to be out and about here. Let's see if we've got any other questions here. Let's see here. Let's see. And again, we're not going to take any sort of like location-based questions. We'll show you the maps here and go over the latest here in just a moment. Let's see. A question that's more generic here. Do you think the roads will be iced over in the morning around 4 a.m., asks Maya. There's a potential for some of those slick spots. Not everybody is going to see icy roads tonight and early tomorrow. This is not a blanket. Everybody sees this. This is some spots will, and you're more likely to see it basically just south of the I-64 corridor in Kentucky, all right? That's the most likely spot here. Let's push forward and show you more of what's happening to our south and west. All of these are storm reports from the National Weather Service. You see almost all of these are exclusively freezing rain and sleet reports. That's been the main precipitation type out of the system. We're on the very northern edge of this thing. Not a whole lot of moisture to work with. A lot of dry air trying to push in from the north here. But at this point, it doesn't matter, because even if it's just very light precipitation, it can cause a big impact there. The cold front's to our south, and that cold front is allowing this cold air to spill in. But the problem is that at about 5-ish thousand feet above our heads, you've got warm air trying to overrun over top of the cold air, and that's what causes these freezing rain and sleet events like this, and massively so in like West Tennessee tonight, but here in wave country, a little less so, right? It's more of just a winter weather event that we'll keep track of. They've got the advisory issued for central and southern Kentucky to cover this potential. So let's talk traffic, shall we? This is a map that was lit up like a Christmas tree last night around, say, 11 o'clock or so. But right now, things are tranquil. You'll notice that we haven't really started to feel the effects of this just yet. Just a few spots of yellow here and there. But look what's going on a little closer to Central City there. Starting to see some yellow. Bowling Green, a little bit of yellow on the traffic map there, kind of a sign of things to come down that way as they get freezing rain and sleet. And those two locations have been in it longer. One crash in Somerset. I don't think that's necessarily winter weather related at this time. We'll come back to this map a little later in this broadcast here. I'm going to be on till 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. Eastern this evening, by the way, for those who are tuned in. Coding to possibly a few tenths of an inch of sleet and snow. I think this will primarily be sleet with a few snowflakes mixed in, and you'll see that maximized down toward Bardstown, Lebanon, E-Town, Litchfield down here. In Louisville, we're kind of in that coating, dusting territory for both the sleet and snow. Again, I don't expect much snow at all. This is mainly a sleet deal here for those two types of precipitation. And then the icing, this map looks even less impressive than last night, but the thing that has changed is the temperature, right? So we sat all day below freezing. Yesterday, it was above freezing. Difference there. The other difference, we're going to head well below the 25-degree mark tonight into the teens for a lot of rural areas by tomorrow morning. That's another difference too. So this very light sort of freezing mist and drizzle and sleet is going to have every bit of the temperature to work with to be able to adhere to the roads and to sidewalks and to parking lots. So use caution early tomorrow morning. Make sure that things like your sidewalk and your steps leading out of your house, if you have to get to your car, maybe you can put some salt down this evening when you get a little chance here, just to make sure that everybody's safe. Not a bad idea. Most of the icing that'll be a little bit heavier will be to our south, but you'll notice Bowling Green, Somerset, London, Columbia, even Greensburg in that 1/10 of an inch of ice. Like I said last night, 1/10 of an inch of ice accretion here. That's the scientific term for it, because the ice develops. It doesn't like accumulate like rain or snow. That 1/10 of an inch is nothing compared to an ice storm or anything like 2009. This is not the same universe as that. No, we're talking about kind of what we had last night, displaced south a little bit with colder temperatures and slightly lighter amounts of overall precipitation. That's how you can compare it to what happened last night into early this morning. That's why we've got the alert day out for tonight and early Wednesday morning for the commute. We'll be able to let the alert day go, by the way, probably closer to lunchtime tomorrow as we start to see things improve if there are any problems, right? This is no guarantee. Last night was a little bit more of a guarantee just because we had more precipitation to work with. Tonight it's very, very light, but it's tough to figure out just how light is too light for impacts, right? There's a kind of a very wide span of error for a very small amount of change in from like freezing drizzle to freezing mist and kind of everything in between. And they saw that happen in Jackson and Bartholomew counties last night, where you had just a little bit of freezing drizzle and kaboom, everything turned to ice. And it was a major problem up there. We don't want to play that game tonight. So we want to make sure that everybody knows with the alert day designation that this could be potentially what happens early tomorrow morning. But again, not a guarantee. And the untreated roads will be most at risk. Here's a snapshot of what temperatures in the morning will look like. We're talking low 20s here in the city. What this doesn't show are those little outlying areas, little valleyed sheltered locations that'll probably get into the upper teens. And that will definitely be conducive to a good deal of potential for slick roads if the roads are untreated and if you guys see precipitation in that location that would freeze to the roadway. So we've been talking about these precipitation types here for quite some time, and I know not everybody is a weather whiz like we are. It's just the thing, right? So what is the difference between freezing rain and sleet and snow, and why are there differences? Well, let's talk about the worst. My least favorite type of precipitation is freezing rain. Hate this stuff, right? I mean, there are two things I hate in my life: cancer and freezing rain. They are literally the two most terrible things. Just because freezing rain, it creates this glaze of ice on the ground. People bust their butt trying to like walk on it. It creates crashes. It creates safety hazards. It takes out power if it's heavy enough. It won't do that tonight, by the way. So this is like the worst of the worst, right? And the reason you get freezing rain is because the snow falling from the clouds above our heads hits a layer of warm air, and that layer of warm air is warm enough to completely melt the snowflake, turn it back into a raindrop, and it hits the ground as a raindrop, but then freezes or accretes, creates a rime layer of ice on the ground, on the trees, power lines, the roads, you name it. So freezing rain is like that ice glaze, right? Created by liquid rain freezing on the ground. Sleet, of course, is a little different because that snowflake doesn't melt all the way in that warm layer of air. So the warm layer of air is a little smaller, so it doesn't spend as much time, the snowflake does, in there, so it partially melts and then refreezes into a little pellet of ice, an ice pellet, if you will. Sleet is also called ice pellets. And then those hit the ground and kind of bounce around. A little easier to deal with. You can displace those with your tires. You can kind of sweep them out of the way. I much prefer sleet over freezing rain. And then finally, snow, we know, is when it's cold and below freezing from the cloud all the way to the ground. You get snowflakes, easy peasy. Rain, same story. It's warm all the way from the cloud to the ground. You get liquid rain. Those are easy to figure out, easy to understand, but you get the idea here. We're dealing with sleet and freezing rain primarily, and a couple of snowflakes here possible as we head throughout early or late tonight, early tomorrow morning. Here's a live radar again. I'm going to leave this up and answer some questions here. You see the heavier sleet and freezing rain now from Munfordville to Greensburg down toward areas near Adair County. And we've also got some lighter returns of freezing rain and sleet from Litchfield to just west of E-Town to near Breckenridge County and Hardinsburg and southern Meade County at this point. Leave this up here so you guys can see that. Let's take a few more questions here. Let's see. Oh my gosh, Elizabeth says, speaking of busting butts, my boyfriend busted his today and sustained a compression fracture to his spine. Ice is no joke. I am so sorry to hear that. Hope he gets well soon. That is no bueno. You got to be careful in this stuff, no matter how thin the ice glaze can be. Let's see. Craig Scott Turner says, what is the NAM and GFS, those are weather models, showing for Thursday? I just started looking at that a few minutes ago here, and it looks like most of Thursday is going to be south of here. I don't think that's going to be a big deal. The colder air to our north, that big high, that Arctic high, is going to press on us a bit and take that system a bit farther to the south. It looks like not a guarantee just yet. We'll have to get this system through here first before we can make our final judgment on that, but you get the idea here. Lauren Kaiser says, will there be any wind concerns? I do not think so with this. In fact, I would like to have some wind because that would kind of help mop up the moisture on the roads a bit, but we only have a wind out of the north at 8 miles per hour. That ain't gonna cut it. Snowing in Sulphur, Indiana. I did see a few snowflakes initially out of this batch here in the weather garden about an hour ago with some very, very light radar returns moving through, but most of this will be sleet and freezing rain initially, and then changing more to a sleet and a few snowflakes mixed in sort of scenario. Brittany's like, do we expect the roads to be in the same condition? It won't be the exact same as this morning. No, I do expect there to be less impact, but how much less? That's the question, because with the temperature being colder, even though the precipitation will be less, the impact may be possibly more. We'll see how that works out. These are tricky sort of fine point edge-to-edge situations like this where it can flip one way or the other, and we don't want to write this off and say we're fine, and then there's 25 wrecks in the morning. That would not be good, right? Let's see. Becca and Frank say, if we're not going to get measurable snow, inches and inches, then I say winter be gone. I know, right? Snow is fun for some folks. Ice is fun for nobody, right? Nobody likes ice. I mean, who wants to deal with ice, right? That's no fun. Let's see. Kathy appreciates trying to explain sort of the difference between precipitation types. And her comment, by the way, comes from YouTube. Hello, Kathy, on our Wave News YouTube page there. Thank you for watching on YouTube. You can always get these broadcasts there as well. But of course, you can always watch on our Wave Weather Now 24/7 live stream on wave3.com, the Wave Now app for your smart TV, and of course, on the Wave Weather app. Raining in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Funny enough, Murfreesboro, Tennessee is the town that I lived in for the first 2 weeks of my life before we moved to Louisville when I was a kid. So yeah, they're probably going to see some frozen precip down there in Murfreesboro here after a time once the cold air moves in. Let's see here. Oh, goodness. We've got a lot of comments and questions about like specific locations. I've kind of explained what will happen based on general location. I can't start answering exact specific location questions because that would take literally all night. But what I can tell you folks is that you can always go back and look at the recorded version of this video. You can always go on the Wave Weather app. You can watch us on TV. There's so many ways to find out our forecast here. And the Wave Weather app is fantastic. Okay, Frederick is asking the elephant in the room question. What are the chances of JCPS closing? My kid keeps asking me. Hard to say. It is really, this is going to depend on how much of an impact does this very, very light precipitation bring us here with Louisville. Could be not a lot at all. Could be something a little bit more nefarious. We'll see. It just depends on the exactness of this. It's such a fine point. I can't even give you a percentage chance because I wouldn't even know where to start because you've got the human factor of, what do they consider a snow day and will they do NTI, will they not? And then you've got the atmospheric factor that's already uncertain because we're like on the bleeding edge of the northern part of this thing. So, I'm sure there's a number you could put on it, but I don't even want to do that because I don't think that would be responsible. And speaking of school closures, I'm glad you brought that up because I happen to have brought up here our live school closings page. I'll hit the big old F5 refresh on that before I show it to make sure everything's current. Yep, I'm glad I did because there's a new one on there. And I'm going to put this live on your screen. Ta-da! I'll get my name off of there. And you'll be able to see, ta-da, that is our live closings page. And as of 8:36 p.m., we've got Crawford County opening late 2 hours tomorrow. Again, this is for Wednesday we're talking about. Today is Tuesday. Harrison County Alternative Schools delayed 2 hours. Meade County is a virtual learning day tomorrow. North Harrison is opening 2 hours late. And Perry Central is closed on Wednesday. So as of 8:37, that's what we've got on wave3.com. You can access that by going to wave3.com/weather/closings. You can also just go to wave3.com, hit weather here, and then hit that closings and delays button, and that brings it up for you. So that's what we've got on the closings list right now per our website. And of course, if you are a school administrator or a business owner and you want to put your closing on there, we've got that closings portal for you guys to log into and report your closing so we can show it at the bottom of the screen in the morning and of course put it on our website and our weather app here. Let's see. Jamie is expressing the concerns of many parents. This mama needs her kids to go to school on time. Yeah. It's hard. It's so hard to find childcare, in this day and age, if you don't, especially if you don't have family or friends who are available to take care of your kids when they cancel school, it's like, well, heck, now what do I do? Well, work, let me take them to work. Are they old enough to leave at home? Like there's just so many factors in that. And kudos to all the parents out there who tough it through the winter season when you've got a lot of active weather like this. I know that is not easy. So definitely, hats off to those folks. Let's see what else we got here. Feedback, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, whatever you want to put in the comments here. Keep it clean. We'll see if we can show some of that here. Again, we're going to try to avoid exact location-based questions. Location-based reports are fantastic. We want to know your location if you're reporting sleet, freezing rain, or snow. So let me know what you're seeing there. Put it in the comments on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter here, and we'll be able to see those. But location-based questions like, will it be, how much freezing rain will there be in X town or X zip code? That's just so tough because we've shown you a bunch of these maps here, and it's tough to answer all of those and be fair to everybody, right? I want to be fair. At least I want to try to be fair. Let's see. Jessica asks, do you think, and when do you think, we will have another sledding snow? Boy, not soon. I've got highs up to 60 degrees next week, 1 week from today, if you can believe it. So it's not going to be anytime soon. But keep this in mind. February starts tomorrow, and February is 28 days long, right? So we've got at least all of February still to go. And then March can produce some sizable snow events around here. It's happened and it'll happen again at some point, right? So we've got usually about the first half of March too. So we've got about a month and a half of what I call eligible winter for snow. So we've still got plenty of time. We've had a lot of near misses and near hits here, but no like big snows in our area, just kind of these smaller snowfalls, and of course a lot of Arctic cold last month. Yikes. We've got Pamela from Buffalo, Kentucky. Hello to you. Tammy says it's snowing in Jeffersonville. Oh, that's good news. Let's hope we keep hearing that. We want snow over freezing rain and sleet. Snow is so much easier to deal with than a glaze of ice or that scattering of ice pellets when it comes to driving. So keep your fingers crossed. I've got a report here from Meade County of ice pellets, which sleet from about 10 minutes ago. So not all of this is falling as snow, unfortunately. I still think a lot of this is going to be freezing rain and sleet. Hayden is asking more of a generic location-based question. I'll definitely take that one. Hello to Hayden on YouTube, by the way. You can see that little red symbol next to the name there. Could north of Louisville have wintry mix as well? Yes, north of the city, it is possible to see a little bit of light freezing drizzle and possibly a few sleet pellets and snowflakes like we've already had reported this evening. Snow-wise, I mean, just barely a dusting to a coating up there. The main sleet snow would be down toward Litchfield, E-Town, Bardstown, Lebanon, but even then, mostly sleet and freezing rain down there. The ice accumulation would be most problematic, likely south of I-64, but again, it doesn't take much, even a little bit of freezing drizzle, and you've got problems. That's why I don't want to completely discount Louisville from having some road issues overnight and into early tomorrow. I think that would be a hazardous thing for me to do based on what happened last night up in parts of Indiana when we saw just a little bit of freezing drizzle. Temps in the lower 20s in Kapow. It became a major travel problem in a very short time. Here's the winter weather advisory if you haven't seen this yet, by the way. This kind of paints where the max impact zone would be. We'll see if they try to extend this north at all tonight based on what's going on reports-wise and on the radar. But for now, I think they'll keep that the way the radar is unfolding now. You'll notice that Louisville is getting grazed by some of this snowflake, sleet, and freezing rain action. Mainly the sleet and freezing rain action here is what we're kind of centered on here. If you go up north toward Madison, very, very light returns, probably some freezing drizzle and light flurry activity up that way, and more of a consistent, heavier type of precipitation, probably a little bit of freezing rain and sleet from Greensburg to Campbellsville to Columbia. You guys are getting hit the hardest right now by that. It's weird to note that when you have heavy freezing rain, it does not accrete or, in layman's terms, accumulate as efficiently as lighter freezing rain, because a lot of those raindrops kind of fall off the objects, or me hitting my mic here, they fall off the objects or kind of, get swept off the roads rather quickly because of the rate of the precipitation is so high. Kind of a light freezing drizzle and light freezing rain, that accretes or accumulates very efficiently. So even though it's a little heavier down there, the impact may not be all that much more than the lighter stuff to the north. This is travel-wise, at least, near Shepherdsville, E-Town, Mount Washington, down toward Litchfield, all right? I'm going to pop on pavement temperatures here. I think that would be good to show just to kind of give you guys an idea of what we're seeing on the roads themselves. When it comes to those sensors that the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and Indiana Department of Transportation operate here. And you'll note, let me just make sure these temperatures are current. They are. You can see the dates are current up at the top banner there. That we've got a pavement temperature of 35 degrees in Litchfield. That's likely because we're coming off of just the daylight hours. So the road temps will drop tonight without the sunlight. Even just a little bit of solar radiation through the clouds can heat those up to above freezing. We're already seeing 33 degrees for a pavement temp up in parts of Jeffersonville, close to the bridges there on I-65. The bridge temperature, this is a good teaching moment here. The bridge temperature is 29 degrees. The pavement temperature off of the bridge is 33. Bridges and overpasses freeze before the main roads. We know this. I have to reiterate it because it's so important. And the proof is right there for 29 degrees at the bridge versus 33 degrees on the pavement connected to the ground soil there, temperature-wise. And then up toward like US 50 and Seymour, where they had problems last night, but likely not as many problems tonight, not even close up that way. 28-degree bridge temp, 31-degree pavement temperature. And let's get you down to Bardstown. That's 37 degrees on the pavement temp and the air temp's 28 degrees. They need some street lights down there. It's always such a dark webcam at night, and you can see those people's street or headlights kind of peek over that hill, and it goes, whoa, kind of blinds everybody on that camera, right? So that's the current pavement temperatures, all right? I hope that makes a little bit more sense on what we'll be seeing tonight based on that alone. Let's see here if we've got any other questions or if we've got any other comments that we can air here. Amy's asking the good old JCPS question. I do not have an answer to that because I'll get myself in trouble if I try to even give you a yes or no or a chance or any sort of thing like that. Too many variables right now. We have to see how things are going to go tonight with what is going to be falling from the sky, what actually makes it onto the roads as an impact. Again, this is very light. You know, is it going to be light enough not to be a problem or just light enough to be a big problem? There's kind of a fine line between that. There's Mount Washington, by the way, starting to get hit by some freezing rain and drizzle. I do have, a snow report in southern Jefferson County. And this looks like it's right near the Highview area. So a little bit of snow is falling from this. Let's hope that continues. We technically should see more of a snowflake action scenario tonight once that colder air filters in and kind of starts to erode away that warm layer of air above our head that's been causing the wintry precipitation type madness around here. We really want that to happen. Dealing with straight up snow is so much easier for travel and forecasting compared to freezing rain and, sleet and all the nastiness that we don't like. E-Town reports freezing rain right now as of 8:43 on this MPing output. By the way, I'm using Radar Scope if you're curious what kind of geeky apps I'm using that has those reports on there. These are real folks going on their Radar Scope or another radar type app and submitting these reports live to MPing, which is a University of Oklahoma and National Weather Service kind of partnership thing where they're trying to collect data so that they can make those precipitation type colors on the radar essentially more accurate, because they're not accurate at all right now. But that project seeks to help that. And it also gives us the data back so we can see exactly what's happening where. So let's see, Meade County has sleet. So see, we have sleet, freezing rain, and let's see, snow within 3 counties that touch each other right now. That's what makes this hard tonight, makes it very difficult. Freezing drizzle right now reported in southern parts of Nelson County. I think we've already seen that report down that way. So the heaviest precipitation continues across parts of southern Kentucky, Campbellsville, Columbia, Greensburg. You folks likely seeing some heavier freezing rain and sleet down that way. A few snowflakes. I notice the snowflakes are kind of in this zone right here from Louisville to Jeffersonville to Clarksville to New Albany to Floyd's Knobs. So we'll see if that trend continues. That might mean, a good thing, by the way, that might mean that the cold air on the north side of this thing is starting to win out with that layer of warm air aloft. So the cold air would be eroding that away. And it might mean that we see more of a snow and sleet thing here in Louisville, which would be fantastic because that would be a lot more easy to deal with on the roads than like this light glaze of ice caused by light freezing rain and drizzle. So keep your fingers crossed. Maybe we're seeing a trend here in real time. So I wanted to stay on a little bit this evening till about 9 o'clock so that we could kind of see how this is going to start trending, because we knew during the 8 o'clock hour this would start to show itself not only on the radar but the impacts as well. Elizabeth loves MPing, and I'm glad she spelled it out for folks. If you want to see what that is, it's M capital P-I-N-G. Kind of neat here. Not an endorsement, just a thing that we use because it's an easy way to communicate. Let's see, sleet in Carroll County here. Via Jenna. Thank you for the report. Yep, give me your reports. Definitely need those. Let's see. Tyler saying any long-range model showing a good storm with 4+ inches before winter ends. Not at the moment, not within our 10-day span that we forecast for. I haven't looked super long-range because I've been dealing with this mess for the last 48 hours. But we'll start looking at that tomorrow once things calm down a little bit. Freezing rain coming down in Campbellsville. There you go. That is the report I have been looking for just to see what's going on down there with this heavier stuff. Boy, oh boy. And again, the radar is not accurate on these colors. It shows snow, but that is true freezing rain right there. And it's all because it cannot see where that warm layer of air is aloft. It is so tough to get that data just right to estimate what is happening over a certain location without putting in live reports from human eyes and ears on the ground, right? Sean's just like, hey, school or no? Depends on where you're at. We've already had some school closures reported for tomorrow, and now's probably a good time to refresh that list. Let's see how we're doing here, because as this is happening, we'll see if anybody else is trying to be proactive here. Yes, we do have an additional school closure that has come up here. Let me take you to, ta-da, there's our live website, wave3.com/weather/closings. The newest one is Breckenridge Grayson Head Start. They are closed tomorrow. That is a preschool program. So you'll see we already have 6 closings in our closing system online, and we'll see if we can add to that here as this begins to fall. It'll be interesting to see. It's interesting to see that Breckenridge and Grayson is the zone, if you will, that has posted the latest closure. Because if I go back to the radar here, once I close out of this and I can get back over here and you'll notice that they just got hit by this round of sleet and freezing rain as I put the radar into motion here. So that's interesting. That's almost like saying, but not really saying, that there are some road impacts there right now. And if we go to the traffic map, which I promised we'd go back to, there we are. Whoops, one too many. There it goes. Okay, we're looking for road issues, and this is interesting. I love real-time data. You can see the yellow starting to show up in the Hardinsburg area, eastbound on US 60 there. Doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem there right now. Could just mean it's slow for another reason, because a lot of this data comes from people's cell phones and other types of road sensors. But it does communicate to me that something is going on there. So that's interesting. That might be mean that the roads have gotten a little iffy around there. We'll see how that unfolds over the next hour to 3 hours here, because there's a little bit more precipitation, probably freezing rain and sleet, now heading in the direction of Grayson and Breckenridge counties at this point. And that's a little bit heavier. Be curious to see what that falls as down there. All right, let's go back to the comments. So to answer your question, Sean, it depends on where you're at. We'll see what happens in the morning with the impacts. The impacts are tough on this kind of thing when it's so light. Hayden, it is snowing in Campbellsburg currently. I'm going to assume you mean Campbellsburg, Kentucky. All right, because we have both Campbellsburg, Kentucky, and Indiana, by the way. So Campbellsburg, Kentucky, that's interesting. Sleet in Glendale, southern Hardin County, also interesting. Sleet in Shepherdsville, that Shepherdsville report there from Kansas is very close to the snow report we had in Highview. It's about 3 exits down I-65 different. Interesting, okay. Let's see. Cameron's like, what's the rest of the winter looking like? No one's saying anything, and we would like to kind of know. Okay, we don't really have that answer at this point because we're dealing with current winter weather, but it looks like it will get warmer next week. And then after that point, we'll probably continue to see this pattern of ups and downs for some time here. So that's what I can tell you right now. We'll dig into more of that tomorrow and beyond, just trying to triage what's going on now, because this is affecting folks here at home right now. We have to pay attention to that, unfortunately. Kathy says, sleeting hard, Lebanon Junction. Okay, a lot of sleet reports coming out of Bullitt County right now. Snowing in Valley Station. All right, so let me get back to the radar. I've got enough reports from you guys, thank you, by the way, to draw a line. Oh, he's going to draw a line, everybody. And that line's going to be somewhere right there. So up to the north of that line, I'm getting mostly... If you can read my serial killer handwriting here, it's terrible. Snow. To the south of that, it's more of a, here comes this wonderful handwriting again that you can't read, yellow against white, yikes. More of a mix down there. So, interesting, right? So what this is telling me is that we've got the colder air aloft starting to possibly make an impact on the Louisville area here and change this mainly to a snowflake situation, which again is a good thing. We don't want the freezing rain. We'd prefer not to have the sleet too, but it's better than freezing rain. And then that warm layer of air is probably still impacting the precipitation type over parts of the area just south of Louisville right now. Could this be precipitation rate driven? Not quite, because you've got the lighter precipitation up here. And typically when you get a heavier precipitation rate, you're more likely to get snow out of that than freezing rain. So the fact that these are falling as flurries, which you see here in Louisville right now, is a good sign from the atmosphere. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's good. Oh, here we go. This is what I was fearing. Sleet in Radcliffe, according to Holly Hatfield, black ice is everywhere in E-towns, and it's starting up. Not shocking, given what is going through there right now with that, sleet and a little bit of freezing rain down that way. I'm glad to see more sleet reports out of this. That's good. That's good. Let's see if we've got any other reports here. Maya, snow in Louisville near the Dixie. Hey, that's good. That's good. That's good. We keep wanting to see these snow reports here. That means that the colder air is definitely taken over aloft here in Louisville. Let's see here. Let's see. Sleet in Mount Washington. Man, we are talking razor thin here. Southern Jefferson County, northern Bullitt County line there. Snowing in Bedford, Kentucky, which is in Trimble County. If I go back north here, and by the way, thank you for these reports, Kathy. You're the latest report there. Really appreciate that. And yeah, you can see just how light this is. It's barely being picked up by radar. But if I kind of scrub back through, you can see kaboom. That's where you guys got those snowflakes you just saw there, and you're getting a few more with the latest radar scan. In Trimble County. Sleet in Vine Grove from Mike. Thank you for that report. Maya says, I'd rather have snow than ice. Ice is scary. Agreed. Count me as 100% on your side for that one for sure. All right, guys, we got about 3 or 4 minutes left before the 9 o'clock hour because I got to take a break. I've been talking all afternoon. And then we'll get the forecast together tonight for Wave News at 11 and update you on what we're seeing then for sure. But I'll take your comments and questions for another 3-4 minutes here before we get off the proverbial air, if you will. More of a live stream than anything. Sleeting in Chaplin, Kentucky. Thank you, Brittany, for that. Appreciate that. Let's see. And we've got a lot of like specific location questions. And it's hard to get through those because there's literally dozens of those in my feed coming in right now. And I want to, it's kind of one of those deals where if you take one, you kind of have to take them all. We just don't have time or the resources for that. So that's why I'll put up these maps real quick so you can see just kind of what we're expecting. Sleet and snow would be very light here in Louisville. A little bit more of that to our south. E-Town's getting sleeted on pretty good. So I think this map looks good right now. I don't think this will be a big snow event. We'll see a few flurries here in Louisville. Maybe a light dusting, light coating. Ice accretion, that's the technical term for freezing rain, making a glaze on the ground here. Thin glaze possible here in Louisville could cause some travel issues, but I think most of these travel issues, based on your reports of mainly snow in Louisville now, will be Bullitt County south. All right. So the Metro may be able to eke out of this one okay. We'll see. It's still going to be quite cold tonight, and even with a few flurries, you still could have some slick spots, but I don't think it's going to be a major, major impact. We'll see, though. I don't want to leave that completely out just yet. And then the heavier ice totals would be a tenth of an inch around that or so south of Campbellsville, it looks like. And that is our forecast. So that kind of gets you up to date on maybe your specific location question. Snowflakes in Hurstbourne, Eastern Jefferson County. Thank you, Tyler. That's good. That's good. Snowing in Washington County. That's interesting. Okay, that's a bit farther south. All right. Again, this is a true wintry mix here. Any other? Let's see. Oh, got a good snow. Let's see. What is this? Erica says another report for sleet in Glendale. Vehicles covered again. Roads are okay for now, but it's coming down at a steady rate. Not a surprise based on the radar presentation down that way. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Got that sleet coming down that way. No snow there yet. Sleet still in Shepherdsville. Let's see here. Boston, the Bardstown area, freezing rain. No surprise there. You guys are south of where the snow is mainly. Snow is mainly here in Louisville, but we have had a report in Washington County, Kentucky now, which is well south of Louisville, about 4 counties south, in fact. Sleeting in Grayson County at the moment. All right, guys, I got about a minute left here before I got to get off of here. I want to thank you for your reports this evening. I want to thank you for watching and trusting us, of course, on this alert day. As always, you can watch Wave Weather Now anytime, any place. It's our 24/7 local live weather channel, if you will. And it's available on the Wave Now app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, the Wave Weather app. Just tap Watch Now. And then, of course, on our website, it's Wave Weather Now. So look for Weather Now if you're having to choose between 2 streams on our website, all right? And that is always available for you. We appreciate the reports. We appreciate you guys for tuning in this evening. And we will see you back here for Wave News at 11 tonight. We'll see you back here then. Good night, everybody.